Well, still here at the Tillamook County Community Health Center. The lady I'm supposed to be working with used to work with Tillamook Family Counseling Center.
Thank you, sir.
Something, yeah. Shouldn't be any problem. Thank you.
So I guess I'm just gonna be sitting and waiting a bit. Suppose I could just go out and grab that little tablet that I got, since it's got the conversations, some of the conversations with Tamara. The problem is there's just too much of it with no place to sort through it. It's just me going from place to place to place to place for them to tell me to do things I'm incapable of doing. I'm incapable of doing those things because of abuse. So, I'm in a bit of pain. On the bright side, I'm not screaming or shouting at anybody or telling them that they're horrible people because I'm in pain. You know, it's difficult to think through physical pain. It's even more difficult to think through medications that they give you for physical pain. Also, I'm in no danger of becoming addicted to the pain. But the medications, oh, fuck, that hurts. Yeah, there's a danger of getting addicted to those. Let's see. Exit. Let's see if we can find any pictures. Not now. Let's see. The one with Tamara is a pretty long one. Here's one with the Starbucks. His name is Murphy. He just stands there gawking at me. He does that often. He followed me here from Hood River. But that ain't the one I'm looking for, is it? No, maybe this one. Turn up the volume.
7 or 9 people in the McCook area that were federally indicted, and they were, taken in from their homes by the marshals, arrested and put in jail. She was the only one of them that was let out.
Andrea, yes. That's who we were talking about in that one. Perhaps this one.
Alright, I'm trying to figure out how to...
We'll move forward and see if we're in the building yet.
One of the things with her is, Gavin had a whole lot of time to go in on a lot of stuff.
Alright, this is it.
Videos for her to watch them all.
One of them.
A lot of it is a lot of it.
Sorry about the audio quality. Well, looks like there's an officer here, so I guess I should go take care of that. Well, that wasn't very effective, was it? Tillamook police. So at least we're in the right place.
Hello, sir.
We're
How
off
you doing
to
today?
Olson. Still breathing.
Okay.
You going inside?
Do you want to go? There's other people in there. They might hear us talking, or do you want to?
That's all right. I came here specifically so that I could have somebody there while we talk. That's one of the reasons for coming to a place like this. I'm told to go to a friend or family member before I go to the police, but I don't have any friends or family members that are sober enough or care enough to do so.
Okay. Is there any reason for that, or? I mean, I'm here to help you if I can.
Mostly because they're addicted to drugs and alcohol.
Well, I mean, is there a reason you want another person there?
Yes, sir. For my own safety from law enforcement, because a lot of officers in this town have done things and elsewhere that are highly inappropriate, and they felt they could get away with it just because I'm homeless. There have been multiple assaults that I've endured here. I have tried to speak to officers when those things happened and when those events happened, and those officers chose to treat me in a way that made me feel very afraid for myself, and also allowed those individuals to continue the threats, harassment, intimidation, and assaults.
Okay. Well, I promise you I am here to help you. You don't have anything to worry about with me. I'm not going to cause you any problems whatsoever. I just want to hear your side of the story and what you want to talk about.
Yes, sir. Can we go inside? Thank you, sir.
Let's see if they will have a spot for us.
Thank you, sir.
I can't guarantee that they'll give us a place to sit down and talk, but we can ask them.
Yes, sir.
That basically, and also for those that.
He was wondering if there was a spot in here we could sit down and talk.
As far as like privacy goes,
Or do you not have any spare rooms or anything?
Okay, somebody's gonna go find out to see if
Okay.
they've got space.
Make sure I record it too, because I'm tired of law enforcement telling me that it's going to take an act of God to get a body camera, when in reality it doesn't take an act of God. There's a legal process.
Yeah, all you gotta do is stop by the police department, fill out the paperwork, and you can have a copy of it.
So you guys don't charge money like they do in Hood River?
I'm not the one in charge of releasing that information, so I don't know all the exact details on it, but I know the lady at the front desk there, she has the form you can fill out to request.
All right, because that's one of the reasons when I've gone in and had to go in by myself, I've been given 1,000,001 reasons why I don't have paperwork. I have to go through a judge, 1,000,001 other things. That's part of what I have recorded, is that I have gone to the people I've been sent to. I have tried explaining to them that I'm an at-risk adult. I've tried explaining that I am being abused often and frequently. I also try to explain that I didn't choose homelessness. I was forced into homelessness because my best friend got her brains blown out. Now, the cops didn't want to do their jobs before she got killed or after, and I was never allowed to go to court. When I was trying to show the evidence that was going on, my friends were busy treating me like I didn't matter. They were telling me, hey, if you show up, bring some cigarettes and we'll help you, or get some food and we'll help you, or get this or get that. And I can't just keep jumping through those hoops. It got to the point where I had to start posting about the abuse on Facebook and YouTube, and I don't want to do that.
Back here, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're gonna go straight back to room 8.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's not being used right now because the bed is being fixed.
Thank you, ma'am.
But it has 2 chairs, so.
That'll work.
Thank you very much, appreciate
All
it.
right,
Which
which
one do you
one?
want to sit in?
I don't care either way.
Okay,
So there you go.
all right, thank
I
you.
figure with you being next to the door, that might make you feel safer, just so you know I'm not armed and I don't believe in carrying weapons.
Okay, so what can I do for you today specifically?
Well, there was an assault at the hospital on January. There's multiple crimes committed. One of them is with a lady, her name is Vicky Rain, and she didn't intend to. She has her own mental problems, and she just didn't make me aware of them when she should have. And as a result, she's got all my evidence over there. She put me in a very tough bind as far as finances go.
So what happened with that then?
And she was gonna help me with trying to turn this in so I didn't have to try talking to a police officer alone, like what happened on multiple other occasions here. Let me set that down, I don't need it at the moment. But she was gonna help me how I needed, which is to go through evidence, have a safe place for my evidence so that I would have access to it whenever I needed it, and somebody to go to appointments with me. Now she's got a type of cancer that she did let me know she might have cancer. What she didn't let me know until after I moved my stuff there was that she's got multiple personalities, and that makes it difficult because sometimes she's able to listen and sometimes she's real gung-ho about trying to force me to do something I'm not capable of, which makes it complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expected to understand her disabilities, but she doesn't understand mine. Meanwhile, Vicky,
Makes sense. Yeah.
she did intend well. She intended on helping me to get my vehicle legal because it's not. I don't get paid till the first. Right now, I don't even have the money for fluid to put in my radiator and the hose busted. That's your fault, and I get that, but it's also situations that were created by a series of crimes that resulted in me being stuck here. With me not having the money to afford an attorney, and with me spending all my money on my vehicle, running around from place to place, I'm just overwhelmed.
Understandable. I can definitely understand that.
With Vicky Rain, I need to be able to get my evidence back safely. It does need to be taken seriously because there's evidence in there of abuse across the state from Hood River to the Dalles to here. There's also a lot of evidence of abuse against at-risk adults, as well as all of the people that I was told I was supposed to go to turn in those individuals.
Mm-hmm. When you say evidence, what do you mean by that?
Well, for example, there's a woman named Molly here in town who was beating on my vehicle. I've got something of her beating on my vehicle. There's a woman named Jamie who was in the Dalles, and she was assaulted there. She's got mental issues and can't defend herself. And I have video footage of her getting punched in the back of the head, and me, out of all the people that were there, I'm the only one who said anything. So he directed his attention at me, and within 5 minutes had also admitted to killing somebody. Nobody took it seriously.
You said Vicky has your evidence. What evidence does she have?
She's got pretty much all of my belongings. When I got here, I was too broke to do anything. I did rent a storage facility, but last month she told me that if I took my stuff over there, it would be safe, and then she would be able to help me with it. Now, when she started backsliding because she was having a panic attack over it, I started having a panic attack over it and explaining to her I didn't feel safe with her or with my stuff over there. And then she just completely flipped her lid. So I had to post up her number and all that crap. I mean, me and her have the same address now because she wanted to pressure me to get my address here.
So where does she live at? I'm not familiar with her.
She lives at.
Do you know what the address is?
I have it on my driver's license, actually. Like I said, she was really nice. She wasn't trying to be mean or evil. Whereas the assault at the hospital by the doctor there, that was very mean-hearted and not acceptable. All right, here it is.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. But also the financial strain that it put on me having to change this over makes it so that I can't take care of myself for next month either. I'll be stuck living in that parking lot over by the Tillamook Sporting Goods. There's no other place for me to go. I was going to the services here in town, but with the assault by Robert Farnsworth and the harassment and threats prior to that for almost two and a half months, and then the fact that the mandated.
I haven't seen Robert Farnsworth for a long time. Is he still here?
He is.
Okay. I
I
haven't seen him forever.
I was told that he was just recently put back in jail because he was trying to choke a woman out. And when I looked it up, it turned out that he had tried to choke a woman out in 2018. They hadn't had anything about a recent attempt to choke somebody out, but I saw him, I want to say last week in McDonald's. So he had just been
So
released.
he is out and about somewhere, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And between that and a situation with a lady named Molly when I first got here and a guy named Tom, it resulted in a lot of safety issues for me at the Fred Meyers. There was a lot of witnesses to it, and many of them are at me because they said that they'd go in with me. Obviously, you know, when a crime is committed, I'm supposed to, as an at-risk adult, I'm supposed to go to a friend or family member before calling you. And then when I get a hold of my friend or family member, was supposed to call you immediately. With her, and please forgive my talking too
That's
much
okay.
and staring at your boots. I'm autistic and I have Tourette syndrome. If I wink at you, I'm not hitting on you.
I am kind of cute though, you know, so.
You are. I'll give that to you. I love your hair.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
But yeah, one of the issues is that I have severe PTSD from abuse that includes from law enforcement. I try to get people to look up the name Natalie Bollinger, and they seem to think that because Natalie was killed in another state, that it's got nothing to do with me and nothing to do with them. But the fact is, the internet doesn't care what state you're in. People who watch the internet don't care what state you're in.
Have you gone to any counseling or therapy because of that?
I absolutely have. As a matter of fact, the therapists that I was going to before Natalie was killed.
What about here in Tillamook though? We got some counselors here.
Well, I was trying to with several of the different agencies, but the thing is that they're having me fill out paperwork for billing acceptance, but they're not doing anything about the abuse. And that's what I need is for help stopping ongoing abuse. And that doesn't work if I have to try to turn it in alone and I'm threatened, harassed, or intimidated by law enforcement. And by the way, thank you for not being an asshole.
Absolutely.
When an officer does something wrong, I'm sent to 30 different agencies and 50 different numbers and told that I need to move by God and everybody apparently. And it gets overwhelming because what I want is a safe place where I'm allowed to exist, where I don't have to look over my shoulder. I'm afraid of every officer that I see because my plates are now illegal. The little temporary in my back window is illegal. And none of that should have happened. There's I don't know if you've got your pen handy. There's two people that are missing that I came up here to help find.
Mm-hmm.
They were helping me with the situation where I was harmed in Colorado and Nebraska. Their names are David and Katie Saltzman. They've been
What's the
missing.
last name?
SALTSMAN. That was one of the reasons for me freaking out at low income in Chapel, Nebraska.
So why
They were
did
gonna
you
help
come
me.
up here to look for them?
Because of abuse in Chapel, Nebraska by local law enforcement and
Yeah, but what
threats
made you
against-
think they were here in Tillamook?
Oh, they're not in Tillamook. They were in Beaverton. I couldn't stay in Nebraska and just keep taking abuse. I
If
had
they're
to,
in Beaverton, why are you in Tillamook?
well, I went to Beaverton first. There was actually 3 people missing when I first got here. One of them was a human trafficked individual named Rebecca Gross Nickel Foley. She is safely in Washington State for right now. But I ended up stuck in Tillamook because this is where my car ended up breaking down. That's how I got stuck in Hood River, is that my car broke down. That's the way that I ended up in the Dalles, is my car broke down in Hood River. And in the time that I was stuck in Hood River, the people there were nice. There were a lot of nice people, but not the cops. And when crimes were committed against me, it was a thing where they're familiar with the locals, they're not familiar with me, and they just simply didn't care. I ended up here because when I was trying to in those other places, I was told that I needed to go to Eugene, I needed to go to Salem, I needed to go to Portland. Well, I guess Portland's that way.
Close enough.
Right. I'm from Nebraska. Like, you can point in any direction and be like, there's something out
Yeah.
there. But here, if I point that direction, there's a coastline.
There's a lot of water that way.
Yeah. So, another issue is with me trying to explain this stuff to several officers. They have been very threatening and intimidating towards me, which is not okay. And then there's also the situation where a 14-year-old girl was assaulted at the Safeway. And for me, a lot of people tell me, well, if you just mind your own business. Well, if we mind our own business, then we're allowing that to happen. And I look at that the same way as I look at if somebody walks past a room and they see a man raping a child in there. Yeah, that man raping that child, that's that man being a pervert that is the problem. But if he does again because you walked by and never said anything, then every person that he rapes after that is your fault for saying nothing.
So what about specifically, you said you wanted to talk about what happened to you at the hospital here. What's that all about?
Well, people don't understand autism or having sensory overload. Right now, it's a pretty quiet room. There's not too much ambient noise outside, so it's easier to concentrate. But being stuck in public all the time, I don't get any time to downtime or defragment, which is important for somebody who's autistic.
Absolutely.
I've been told that I need to go to all these different places because there's support networks there and support groups, and they're not the same. AA is not help, and that's basically what those are the equivalent of. If it was an issue where I was a whiner who had an alcohol problem, maybe that makes some sense, but it doesn't. I needed to go to the hospital for back issues and also to try to turn in the crimes against me here in Tillamook, and I was told, as with everyone, I needed to go to mandated reporters, and they're required to. So I was having a severe meltdown from telling people what I'm going through and then blowing me off. The guy at the Denny's gave me a ride to the hospital, and he sat with me for a bit. There was a doctor, Stephan L. Stephanides is his name.
Okay.
Now they had me go in and see the doctor. I got back issues and leg issues, and he did the whole testing thing, and then he started getting an attitude with me because I was able to get up onto the bed. And that's when Mike, his name is Mike McKinster, he works at the Danny's. He's the one that gave me the ride. He dropped me off there though, like he came in for a few minutes, but then he had to go back to the Danny's. And while he was gone, that's when the therapist lady came in and was talking to me. Now I thought I was recording it, and I did let them know it, although my recording device didn't work all the way. This is recording though, and this is the device that I had at the time.
Okay.
The problem is that when I was in there, the therapist, I was trying to explain what was going on, but because I had just been through a very traumatic situation, I was not able to communicate well, and I was trying extremely hard. But when she got up to leave, she was from Tillamook Family Counseling, which I'd also been warned about, not to go there, that they don't help.
I do know they have helped a lot of people though.
I've talked to a couple of people they helped actually. There was a lady who pulled up there last time I was there, but she was a domestic violence survivor, and she had a house, so it was a bit different. They do help out with little things in a lot of these places, like CARE will give you blankets and stuff once every 3 months. Anyway, the thing at the hospital, when that lady from Tillamook Family Counseling Center was talking with me, and I was having communication issues, the doctor came in and started yelling at me, that's it. And then he started pushing me and shoving me, poking me extremely hard, and it was not necessary. Like, there was absolutely no need to get physically violent with me. I didn't get physically violent with them. Now it's on their cameras, and the cameras need to be requisitioned, and charges need to be brought against that doctor, because assaulting a patient is never okay.
And when you said he assaulted you, like what? Why was he telling you those things? What was it, that they were done and he was trying to get you to leave? Is that what he was trying to do? Like force you to leave or what?
He was forcing me to leave, but he didn't have to do it. a nasty fashion like that. He could have asked me and I would have walked out of my own volition. Instead, it was a situation where there was a bunch of people there and it was very difficult for me to have to navigate through them. But regardless, it's never okay for him to physically assault a patient. And he physically assaulted me as I was coming out of the room and when I was in the hallway at the hospital.
So what were his actions when he was assaulting you?
He was pushing me and shoving me here and on my back, and he was doing so hard, knowing that I have back issues and severe pain from my back issues. It's never okay to do that. It was very physically painful and it was unnecessary.
Is there any reason that it took you 3 months to notify us of it?
I tried to notify you immediately, but without a friend or family member, I got blown off. That's the problem with the officers that were showing up. When they told me that if the officer, when I was at the hospital for another situation before that, the officer that I was trying to turn in was the officer who showed up. Now, according to the law in this state, they're supposed to send him away and have somebody else come. Instead, he was in the room intimidating me for about 30 minutes, and I was extremely uncomfortable. I did state that I knew my rights. I did assert my rights as best as I could, given the situation and the fear that I was going through. I was also well aware that they were supposed to call a social worker and have a social worker be there and meet me there, and they never did such a thing. There was never a social worker who showed up. I don't know if they ever contacted one or not. I know what they claimed, but that situation is actually recorded on my channel. I also made sure that I followed the law to the best of my ability and made sure that it was just audio that was recorded and not their faces or personal stuff. It's difficult for me because no matter what excuse he makes, there was no physical altercation between him and I. It was just him being physical. It was just him getting loud, just him yelling. And I had to raise my voice just enough to let him know that that was not okay, that he was hurting me. And I did voice to him multiple occasions while he was doing it that he was hurting me, that I was leaving and he needed to stop hurting me.
Would you ever consider going back to the Tillamook Family Counseling Center here and giving it another try?
Well,
I know they do have a
I
new
wasn't
person that they
assaulted.
hired over there.
I wasn't assaulted at Tillamook Family Counseling
Right,
Center.
but for
I was
counseling,
assaulted
I
at
mean,
the
just,
hospital.
to talk about things and for counseling.
Well,
And,
they have me set up with a lady here for counseling, and that's the route that I'm going to be taking.
Okay,
She's
good.
going to visit with me on the 3rd.
Okay,
The problem with Tillamook Family Counseling is I need to have someone there. I've had to pay people to be there and present so that I can have conversations with these folks, and hopefully they maintain some sense of professionalism. That's where Miss Scudder came in, but her time requirements made it difficult.
Mhm.
The thing is, the assault by the doctor at the hospital, that is something that does need to be remedied and needs to be taken care of quickly. The thing that happened 3 months ago, that was with a different officer. It was up at the same group of buildings. It's the hospital, but the 2 hospital buildings that I was at, they were the one at the January 28th and emergency room, I believe, and the other was at the clinic thing that's right next door.
Yeah.
So it was at 2 different facilities. That Vicky Rain lady, she's really smart and she is really nice and she did have good intentions. We did make multiple calls over the course of over a week, actually, multiple calls to those places. They were just sending us on a wild goose chase, telling us people were going to get back to us who never got back to us, claiming that those people did get back to us, and then they started playing stupid. I don't have a place to sit down with my evidence and go through anything that I need to go through. Meanwhile, I've got stuff that I need to go through about missing people. And I know that every police station in the United States is supposed to have a room specifically for that, especially in the case of a heinous crime being committed. And because I am an at-risk adult who is autistic and because people are taking advantage of that, this is considered a heinous crime, and there should have been somebody the first 3 times that I asked to take me to one of those rooms and allow me to do that.
So in reference to this Vicky lady, do you still have things out there at that address that you're needing to get?
Yeah, there's
Have you
evidence.
gone out there? Have you drove out there and asked her to try to get it back?
I have the messages between her. She said not to get a hold of her until I'm going out there to get it. But the thing is, with the safety issues and with her mental issues, it would be much safer for me to go out there and prevent the problem from occurring to begin with, rather than going there by myself and possibly incurring the wrath of somebody's.
So for me today, and what I can do to help you, is your biggest concern about what happened to you at the hospital in January? Is that the biggest concern that you're wanting to report to me today?
The two biggest concerns are my evidence, my safety, and the hospital. But the thing is that it's been almost 6 months of me being here going through this. So I mean, there's a lot of crimes that have been committed while I have to try to find a friend or family member to help me turn it in. It hasn't been an issue of not making an effort. It's been an issue of when I make an effort alone, I get blown off. I know that if there's
Well, some things it's hard, it's hard to investigate and it's hard to prove things sometimes. And sometimes we do the best that we can, but if we don't have video of it occurring, if we don't have witnesses of it occurring, if we don't have any way to corroborate the stories, if there's no injuries, nobody
and
was
that's
hurt.
why I save everything. That's why I have so many recordings. That's why I need a place to go through it. And that's why being prevented from having that prevents me from turning that in.
Right.
I'm being forced to do this out of my vehicle. I can't possibly do that. Nobody could.
Right.
I've got 13 bags of just paper evidence. I've got over 5,000.
And is all that at her place then, at Vicky's? Or
A
most
lot
of it?
Yeah, a lot of it. There's some that's in my vehicle. There's crimes that have been committed against me from one end of the country to the other. So, but the thing is, the hospital, they will have the record of it because there is the video footage of it that will be present. The video footage does show that I wasn't attempting to harm anybody. I wasn't attempting to hurt anybody. I wasn't trying to bite anybody. I wasn't trying to stab anybody. There was no reason for him to be physically assaulting me. And it was hard, and it was hurtful, and it was intentional.
Mhm.
So the fact that there is.
So the other thing that you can do too, besides a law enforcement aspect, is the hospital should have a way that you can file a complaint too.
See, that
against
I
that
just
specific
explained to
person.
you that we spent over 7 days trying
You
to
try
do
to do
that.
that, okay.
That's the thing with Vicky, is that it took us 7 days of getting run around in circles. The hospital is hiding what they did. Could you look up something for me?
What's that?
Clearview Behavioral Health in Johnstown, Colorado.
Okay.
They got closed down because they were holding people for longer than they should have. They were also literally, physically, and psychologically torturing people in the facility. They are permanently closed. If you look them up, you'll find that they are permanently closed. State of Colorado shut them down for killing people, doing the things they did to me. I survived, but other people didn't. Obviously, I do have communication issues, and that comes down to how afraid I am of the situation. The other night, I got so desperate that I just started honking my horn until an officer showed up, and then I tried explaining it to the officer. All he did was get an attitude with me and smile about it and act like it was hilarious. Meanwhile, I need a spot where I can sit down and turn in all of these crimes, and I need to be able to do so safely, because if I'm not, then more crimes get committed against me. There's also public opinion. If you're somewhere for too long and you're homeless, people want you to leave. So then you've got every Karen and their mother calling up the local sheriff's department and police department to harass you. Anyway, like I said, the assault was on January 28th. Mike McKinster was the person who drove me there, and he did come and pick me up afterwards. I told him that I wanted to get a hold of the police. He was kind of pissed off, so he told me, all right, well, I can either give you a ride back to your car, or we can call the police. And I really wanted to get back to my car because I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't get back to it, because that's where all my evidence was. calling the police wasn't going to make any difference. By the time I got back down to my car, he wasn't going to call the police or talk to the police or nothing. He was just pissed off at me, and he told me I'm not allowed over at Denny's anymore, not allowed on the parking lot or any of that. The people over at the Starbucks attached to the same property are okay with me going there, but it's obviously unsafe because, I mean, if I go into the Starbucks and Mike sees me coming out of the Starbucks, well, I'm technically on their parking lot, so I get in trouble. And that's the thing, is that all of this is homelessness is illegal. That's what it all comes down to. But the housing issue is one of the crimes that I have to try to turn in. I should have never been prevented from staying in housing. I never should have been forced to break a window to try to get to a county sheriff's department to do their jobs. Natalie Bollinger is dead. She's one of a lot of people who are dead because of the situation.
So as far as what has happened here in Tillamook specifically, because that's all I'm responsible for, is what occurred within the city limits of Tillamook.
So the ongoing crimes from other places that I am allowed to turn into other jurisdictions, especially if there's a safety issue with the jurisdiction that I was trying to turn it into. And if there's a situation where I literally have to flee an entire state, then it is acceptable and also recommended that I go to local law enforcement with my evidence and show it to them, and they're supposed to help to get it out to the agencies that it's supposed to go to.
If you're able to obtain all that information, if you're able to get it back from Vicky or wherever you have that information, if you can obtain that information, you can provide that to us then at that point, yes.
And that's the thing, is that I've explained that I've had that repeatedly and gone in repeatedly. I've done that from one end of the country to the other. I had officers who just wanted to play stupid, and the thing is, I had to research the laws so that I knew who was breaking the law and who was not. The thing is that officers just outright refused no matter what, and I had that evidence. The stuff that's out at Vicky's shouldn't be out there. It should have been in the hands of officers years ago.
Well, do your best to get that back from her then, okay?
Well, that's one of the things that I'm coming to you guys about. I don't get paid until the 1st, but I do need to have an officer go out there with me when I do get paid so that I can get my things safely without fear of them being destroyed.
Well, one, that's not within the city of Tillamook, so that's in the county. So if you would have to contact the sheriff's office to see if they would be able to send anybody out there.
And that's difficult to get them to listen, especially without a friend or a family member. They generally tend to treat me the same as everyone else. Also, I know that your protocols for when somebody comes in alone who's homeless are different than when somebody comes in who's disabled and has a friend or family member with them. It's kind of like the suicide watch thing. If somebody's bullied to the point that they want their life to end, every officer in America knows that that person is coming to them for help, not to get their heads blown off. But then if you come in with a friend or family member, then the officers will do something about the bullies. If you have to go in alone, they put you on suicide watch. When you're put on suicide watch, that demeans you as a human being. It makes you feel like you're absolutely nothing, and it also discredits you.
But the main thing is making sure that you're safe.
But I'm not safe, and I'm not safe because nobody will investigate the crimes against me. For me to have to go out to Vicky's and get that stuff after months of trying to get this turned into where it needs to go and being blown off, this is inhumane.
So when we get done here today, do you want to talk to a crisis counselor or anything today? Or I know you said you had an appointment, but that appointment's not coming up for another, almost 2 weeks still?
My appointment is, they set me one up for April 3rd, so that's pretty close.
About a little over a week.
Yeah.
Is that going to be okay?
As far as the crisis counselor goes, yes. But
Okay,
the thing is that I need to have a safe place where I can sit down with my evidence. Even the evidence that I have now, I can get started with if I have a place where I can sit and do it. It's not appropriate to do this in the library. It's not appropriate to do it in Starbucks or in Fred Meyer's. And that's one thing that people have these great ideas, but then they don't have the reality of the fact that I'm talking about and murder and a lot of things like that. You can't talk about that in public.
Well, I don't have a place for you either, really. I mean, you know, if
You
you can
guys-
sort it out in your vehicle, if wherever you
I
can sort it
can't
out.
sort it out in my vehicle. That's the problem with being forced into homelessness.
Yeah.
I wasn't homeless when Natalie was killed. I was forced into homelessness by police officers who didn't want to do their jobs. This is a mandated reporter thing, and for me to go to the mandated reporters and for all of them to blow me off and tell me it's not their job, it absolutely is. Now, as far as your police station, I don't, even if you have a tiny, tiny building for a police station, you guys should still have an investigation room that I can utilize.
Yeah, we don't have any public space in our building at all. It's open to the public for anybody.
Well, I'm not afraid of anybody hearing what I got to say. If they can handle hearing it in public, they can handle hearing it in public. It's more appropriate at the police station than it is down at the Fred Meyers, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So if you're able to get that information, you know, you gotta get us some evidence first. It just can't be hearsay. You gotta have actual evidence.
And that's the thing, is that I've had the actual evidence and I've been blown off and told it's nobody's job. That's one of the biggest issues. I've got the evidence. It's getting someone to look at it. For me, being stuck in public, I can't function stuck in public. I'm always afraid that some officer is going to do something stupid, or that Robbie is going to come do something stupid, or that Molly is going to do something stupid, or somebody who, heaven forbid, hates homeless people is going to be a Karen for the day. Like, I am constantly looking over my shoulder. I can't function in public. If I have to do this in the police station, I can do that. I've got my computer right out in my car. I've got access to my YouTube channel. I've got access to a whole bunch of evidence of a whole bunch of crimes on there that happened right here in Tillamook, as well as elsewhere. The problem is that officers kept telling me it's not their job. I need to go elsewhere. I can't just keep being told to go elsewhere. At this point, 6 years of this, it has become beyond criminal. I mean, no human being should be asked or expected to go through what I've gone through. With my communication issues, the more scared I am, the more that becomes an issue.
So what might work best for you then maybe is when you go to a counselor, you're in a private room, you have space, see if they will allow you to go through and take care of that.
I've
as
already
part of your
tried that,
counseling.
and that's one of the issues, is that I have attempted that, and I have gone through all of that, and no, they don't do that. That's one of the issues with every agency giving me suggestions about what every other agency is supposed to do, is that when I get to that other agency, they say they don't do that, or they don't provide that, and I go back to the first one, and they say, oh, well, you know, you need to go back to Tillamook Family Counseling Center. You need to go back to CARE. You need to go back to the places that already told you it's not their job. And there is no way that all of these services are so completely ignorant of what the other services do, especially when they're repeatedly getting calls from a lot of different people saying, hey, you told us to go call this place. They tell us it's not their job. Why are you still sending us to these places if you've already been notified by at least 8 other people other than myself that that's not their job? Why don't you call them up with me? Well, ask them if it's their job. We will record it so that I've got evidence I can take into the cops that it's not your job. Or the most famous one is well, I'm going to need your signature. If you're going to tell me something, I'm going to ask for your signature. I'm going to ask for it in writing. I don't trust anything that anybody who takes my tax dollars has to say until they prove it. Your body cameras, for example, I record for my safety, because getting those should not be an act of God.
But if you recorded the whole entire thing, why would you need this?
Exactly. That's why. And that's one of the things
That
with
way you don't have to pay for it.
officers kept on stealing my recording devices, destroying recording devices, bearing false witness in order to gain access to devices that I had with crimes that they had committed. The fact that I've got all that actually on my computer, on my telephone, on my YouTube, on my Facebook, I've got computers out in the vehicle. I can do it down at the police station as long as I have assurances that I'm not going to be harmed for going there to do so.
So basically, like I said, if you have evidence that you can turn into us, that's great. But I don't have a place for you to sit down and spend a whole bunch of time going through it with you. It'll have to be something that you can organize, get together, and
But
then
I
turn it
can't
into.
organize it in the conditions that I'm in because of my disabilities and because of people preying on my disabilities. I literally can't do it from a car. This is inhumane. It's cruel and unusual punishment to expect somebody to do such a thing, especially when they've been forced to travel from one end of the country to the other over this.
And then the other thing is, whenever a new incident happens, call us right away when it happens.
When a new incident happens, I have called right away. I got blown off. That's why I'm supposed to go to a friend or family member. Somebody who is called mentally ill, that being any at-risk adult, is supposed to go to a friend or family member when they are harmed. That is our first instructions, and then we're supposed to go to you guys. If that doesn't work, we're supposed to have a trusted adult like a caseworker. None of my caseworkers would do their jobs. They were interested in filling out paperwork, and then when Natalie ended up getting her brains blown out, pretending like they don't exist.
Is there anything else that I can help you with right now, today, like in this moment right here?
Yeah, you can get started on the investigation against the hospital and get a hold of that camera footage from the hospital. Also, how do I get a copy of that?
I don't know that you can get a copy of the camera footage from the hospital. I think the only way you can do that is with a signed order from a judge, because it's going to be their private property that they own, and you can't force somebody else to give you something that doesn't belong to you unless you have a court order. And most of the time, that's the only way that we can get it too, is with a court order.
Well, I'm afraid you're gonna have to go take a look at the body cameras and get a court order because they accept our tax dollars. So yes, I was assaulted on the 28th January at the hospital, and that does need to be looked into.
Okay. Do you remember what time approximately it was you were there?
It was pretty late at night. Mike McKinster might remember better. I want to say it was
Late in the evening, though?
Yeah.
Time?
Yep, and they would have a record of it. They said that somebody else had paid my bill and we tried to get a hold of them. The thing is, the longer it takes for me to have a place where I can sit down safely and go through it, the more abuse I'm going to take. And this is wrong because I never should have had my disability money taken away and had to fight so hard to get it back. I never should have had my housing taken away, and that was all because bad cops didn't want to do their jobs. The threats against my life have not ceased. The people who harass me repeatedly over the internet and in real life, it does not cease. And that's the problem with abusing at-risk adults, is that I was abused into homelessness. These are felonies.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do the best that I can to get as much information as I can to try to corroborate your story, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I think for today, then, we're probably done.
Can I get your card?
And absolutely. If I don't have one in here, I got some inside my vehicle out there. Oh, I do got one. Perfect. So there you go, sir. That is my information.
Trent Olson.
And I will do the best to try to track down and get as much information about that incident as I can.
All right. There's also multiple instances where I was assaulted here in this town, that not in the hospital. One of them was with Robert Farnsworth. Now, albeit he was trying to headbutt, he got the bad end of the stick. I'm not sure if you noticed my nose is huge, but people often, when they try to punch me, they aim for my nose, I flinch, and they break their fist on my head. Well, he didn't try to punch me, he tried to headbutt me and ended up with a face full of forehead.
So it didn't work out too good for him, huh?
It didn't, but that was also the 7th or 8th incident with him.
Well, it sounds like he got what he had coming then, huh?
I disagree. He's got some mental issues that he needs help with, and his safety out on the street isn't any better.
Yeah.
He
I'm
was
very familiar with him.
He was assaulted at least 3 times between when he told me that he was going to kill me and when he assaulted that lady over by the church.
Yeah.
So he got beaten up at the Safeway and a couple other
But
places.
again, that's something that he would have to report if he wants to. If
Well,
he doesn't want to report it, then it doesn't matter.
What I'm trying to get across is the safety issues, not just for him, also for all of us because of that.
Yeah.
As far as Vicky goes, I don't know who to get a hold of to get all that done, because I'm just as afraid of the sheriff's department as I am of the police department. I do have the names of some of your officers that were involved in this stupidity, but I gotta go through the videos and again, not having a place to do it. Like this is the thing, is that officers can victimize us until we have the resources, and then we're supposed to magic up resources. I don't see how that works. You got a real emergency, I take it?
Yeah, you got texting me about stuff.
All right.
But I'm glad I was able to at least meet with you today, okay?
I'm still in
I
that
do
risk
have
to
your
go,
information now.
and I do need somebody to take charge of this and to be my caseworker and assist me, and I can't do that for myself.
Okay.
For counseling, if it's just counseling, it does me absolutely no good, because it does nothing about the ongoing abuse, does nothing about the fact that crooked cops were able to abuse their power to force me into homelessness. I mean, how am I supposed to do this once forced into homelessness? That's the thing that makes it a crime.
It's tough. It's tough at this point. Do the best that you can with what you have. That's what we all have to do.
I've been doing that. The problem is I'm being denied the resources of a victim. I am the victim here, and I am denied those resources. I have been to many police stations, and they do have rooms in every single one of them. Those are supposed to be available for anybody, for our safety, so that we may safely do those things. Now, for people who are homeless, the fact that you guys get to utilize the laws the way that you do to prevent us from being able to turn in our predators is horrible. We didn't choose this. We don't choose the lack of resources or the victimization from it.
And we don't get to choose the resources either, unfortunately.
But you do.
So I'm not in charge of resources.
Officers
so
absolutely do get
I
to
wasn't
be
in charge
of it.
of making a building or adding extra
And see,
rooms
there,
on or anything
that's
like
the
that.
thing, is that the officers who chose to assault me absolutely did choose to assault me. They did choose to lie on court paperwork. They got busted lying on court paperwork.
Well, good for
So
them.
no, not good for them,
That's
because
good they got busted if they
have
lied.
I haven't been able to show the evidence. I haven't had a place where I can go through it. I don't get a place to go through it because I've been forced into homelessness because I tried to sell on them. Oh my God, that sucked. You seeing how that doesn't work out?
I do understand. Yes, I do. It's a tough situation. I'm not going to argue with you. You are correct. Yes. So I'll do the best that I can with the information that I have. Okay.
Yes, sir. There's a whole lot more crimes I gotta turn in.
Okay. Well, I thank you for the time that you shared with me today. I do appreciate it.
Suzanne? Yeah. Hi.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm assuming.
Sean, you have a great day, man. I wish you the best of luck.
Nothing's changed.
Yes, sir. I wish Tillamook the best of luck. This dude is nice and fucking smiled about not doing this. I hate this thing. nice and fucking useless. But at least in being useless, he was nice about being useless, right? Let's hope that I'm wrong about him being useless. Although with me trying to turn in his fellow officers, I'm not sure how well that's going to work out. Praise the Lord, almond cheese and rice and all that bullshit. Fuck this entire goddamn country and everyone in it. See, all they gotta do is force you into homelessness. It don't matter that people broke the law to do that. Once they got you there, you're screwed. Also, the address that I have for Vicky is for Tillamook, not Bay City, not Coos Bay. It's actually Tillamook. Ugh. Fuck this goddamn country and everyone in it.